First contact. The starship Horizon glided silently through the inky blackness of space, its sleek hull reflecting the distant pinpricks of starlight. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge, her dark eyes fixed on the main view screen. The ship had been exploring the outer reaches of known space for months, seeking signs of alien life. So far, their journey had yielded little more than interesting stellar phenomena and uninhabited planets. "Captain," called out Lieutenant Ravi Patel from his station at sensors, "I'm picking up an anomalous reading at the edge of the Epsilon Eridani system." Chen's heart quickened. "Can you identify it, Lieutenant?" Patel's fingers danced across his console. It's a ship, Captain, and it's not one of ours." A hush fell over the bridge. Chen took a deep breath, steeling herself for what could be humanity's first contact with an alien civilization. "Alert all senior staff. Bring us to yellow alert, but keep weapons powered down. We don't want to appear hostile." As the Horizon approached the alien vessel, its form became clear on the view screen. It was unlike anything they had ever seen, a graceful, organic shape that seemed to flow rather than be constructed, with no visible seams or joins. Iridescent patterns rippled across its surface, reminiscent of cuttlefish on Earth. "It's beautiful," whispered Ensign Maria Lopez from her position at navigation. Chen nodded in agreement. "Open a channel-wide broadcast. Let's see if they're willing to talk." Communications Officer Jack Harper cleared his throat. "Channel open, Captain." Chen stepped forward. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth exploration vessel Horizon. We come in peace and wish to establish friendly contact." For several tense moments, there was no response. Then suddenly, a burst of sound filled the bridge, a complex, layered melody that seemed to shift and change even as they listened. Harper's eyes widened. "Captain, I think that's their response." "Can you translate it?" Chen asked. Harper shook his head. "Not yet, but I'm feeding it into our linguistics database. It might take some time to decipher." As they waited, the alien ship began to move. It gracefully maneuvered until it was parallel with the Horizon, matching their course and speed perfectly. "They're hailing us again," Harper announced. This time, when he played the transmission, it was a mix of the alien melodies and a halting, synthesized voice. "Greetings, Earth vessel. We are the Harmonians. Welcome to our space." Chen couldn't help but smile. First contact, and it was peaceful. This was what they had hoped for, dreamed of for so long. "Harmonians," she replied, "we are honored to meet you. We come seeking knowledge and friendship." The next few hours were a flurry of activity as both ships' crews worked to establish better communications. The Harmonians, it turned out, communicated primarily through complex musical patterns, which their technology was translating, imperfectly, into spoken language. As they conversed, Chen learned that the Harmonians were a peaceful, highly advanced species. They had been observing Earth from afar for some time, waiting for humanity to develop interstellar travel capabilities before making contact. "Your species intrigues us," the Harmonian leader, who called himself Melody of Starlight, told Chen. "You are young, but full of potential." Chen felt a swell of pride at the alien's words. "We have much to learn," she replied humbly. "We hope you'll be willing to share your knowledge with us." Melody of Starlight's response was a burst of harmonious tones that the translator rendered as agreement. "We propose an exchange. You will visit our ship. We will visit yours. To learn, to understand." Chen glanced at her senior staff, seeing a mixture of excitement and apprehension on their faces. This was a monumental opportunity, but it also carried risks. Still, isn't this why they had come out here? "We would be honored," Chen said. "How shall we proceed?" The details were quickly arranged. Chen would lead a small team to the Harmonian vessel, while a group of Harmonians would be welcomed aboard the Horizon. As the captain prepared to depart, she couldn't shake a mixture of excitement and trepidation. The shuttle ride to the alien ship was brief but tense. As they approached, Chen marveled at the intricate patterns flowing across the ship's hull. It seemed almost alive. A circular opening appeared in the side of the vessel, and Chen guided the shuttle inside. The docking bay was a marvel of organic technology, with pulsing bioluminescent walls that seemed to breathe. As Chen and her team, Science Officer Dr. Yuki Tanaka and Security Chief Commander Miguel Ortiz, stepped out of the shuttle, they were greeted by a group of Harmonians. The aliens were tall, slender beings with iridescent skin that shimmered with changing colors. They had no visible mouths, but their bodies seemed to vibrate subtly, producing the musical tones of their language. Melody of Starlight stepped forward, its skin pulsing with welcoming hues. "Captain Chen, welcome aboard the symphony." Chen bowed slightly. "Thank you for your hospitality, Melody of Starlight. We're honored to be here." As they toured the ship, Chen and her team were struck by how different it was from human vessels. Everything seemed to be alive in some way, responding to the Harmonians' musical commands. Dr. Tanaka was particularly fascinated by their propulsion system, which seemed to harness the fundamental vibrations of space-time itself. Meanwhile, aboard the Horizon, a group of Harmonians, led by one called Rhythm of Cosmos, was exploring human technology. They seemed particularly intrigued by the ship's computer systems and the concept of digital data storage. "Your technology is different," Rhythm of Cosmos observed to Lieutenant Petal, "but impressive in its own way." Platel beamed at the compliment. "We're always striving to improve," he said. "Your own technology is far beyond ours in many ways." As the tour on the symphony concluded, Melody of Starlight invited Chen and her team to participate in a harmony gathering, apparently a form of cultural exchange. They were led to a large circular chamber where several Harmonians were already assembled. "Please, join the circle," Melody of Starlight instructed. Somewhat uncertainly, Chen and her team took their places. The Harmonians began to produce a complex, layered melody that filled the room. Chen felt the sound vibrating through her body, and to her surprise, she began to see colors and patterns in her mind's eye. "Extraordinary," Dr. Tanaka whispered. "It's some form of synesthetic communication." As the melody continued, Chen felt a growing sense of connection with the aliens around her. Emotions and abstract concepts seemed to flow between them, carried by the music. It was unlike anything she had ever experienced. When the gathering ended, Chen felt both exhilarated and overwhelmed. "That was incredible," she said to Melody of Starlight. "Thank you for sharing it with us." The Harmonian's skin rippled with pleased colors. "We are glad you enjoyed. This is how we share, how we connect." As they prepared to return to the Horizon, Chen felt a sense of optimism about the future of human-Harmonian relations. This first contact had gone better than she could have hoped. But as they boarded their shuttle, Commander Ortiz pulled her aside. "Captain," he said in a low voice, "something feels off. Did you notice how the Harmonians were particularly interested in our weapon systems? And that restricted area they wouldn't let us enter?" Chen frowned. Ortiz had a point. There had been moments during the tour when the Harmonians had seemed evasive. "Let's not jump to conclusions," she said. "But keep your eyes open. We need to be cautious." As the shuttle departed the symphony, Chen watched the alien ship through the viewport. First contact had been made, and it seemed peaceful. But as she reflected on Ortiz's concerns, she couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the Harmonians than met the eye. The shuttle docked with the Horizon, and as Chen stepped back onto her ship, she was greeted by an excited Lieutenant Harper. "Captain," he said, "you need to see this. While you were over there, we made a breakthrough in translating more of the Harmonian language." Chen followed Harper to his station, where he pulled up a series of complex waveforms on his screen. "We've been analyzing the underlying structure of their musical language," he explained, "and we found something concerning." He pointed to a particular section of the waveform. "This pattern here. It's been present in all of their communications, but it's on a frequency our initial scans didn't detect. We think it's some kind of subharmonic carrier wave. Chen's brow furrowed. What are you saying, Lieutenant? Harper took a deep breath. Captain, we think the Harmonians have been transmitting hidden messages within their communications. Messages that our conscious minds can't perceive, but that might be influencing us on a subconscious level. As the implications of Harper's discovery sank in, Chen felt a chill run down her spine. The harmony gathering, the sense of connection she felt, had it all been some kind of manipulation? She looked out the viewport at the graceful form of the symphony, still keeping pace with the horizon. First contact had been made, but it seemed the true nature of their new alien neighbors was yet to be revealed. Alert the senior staff, Chen ordered, her voice tight. We need to reassess our situation. It seems our new friends may not be as harmonious as they appear. Cultural misunderstanding. Captain Chen sat at the head of the conference table, her face grave as she addressed her senior staff. The initial excitement of first contact had given way to a tense atmosphere as they grappled with the implications of Lieutenant Harper's discovery. So, to summarize, Chen said, we believe the Harmonians have been embedding subliminal messages in their communications. The question is, why? Dr. Tanaka leaned forward, her eyes bright with scientific curiosity despite the situation. It's possible this is simply how their language works. Perhaps these subharmonic frequencies carry nuances that their conscious minds process differently than the main melody. Or, Commander Ortiz countered, his jaw set, they could be trying to influence us, manipulate us without our knowledge. Chen nodded, acknowledging both possibilities. Lieutenant Harper, have you made any progress in decoding these hidden messages? Harper shook his head. Not yet, Captain. The patterns are incredibly complex. It could take days, maybe weeks, to fully decipher them. We may not have weeks, Chen murmured. She turned to Lieutenant Patel. What did you observe during the Harmonians' tour of our ship? Patel fidgeted uncomfortably. They were very interested in our technology, especially our communications and weapons systems, but they were always polite, never pushy. Chen drummed her fingers on the table, weighing their options. They couldn't accuse the Harmonians of deception without proof, but they couldn't ignore the potential threat either. All right, she said finally. We need more information. Dr. Tanaka, I want you to work with Lieutenant Harper on decoding those subliminal messages. Commander Ortiz, discreetly enhance our security protocols. And Lieutenant Patel, keep a close eye on our systems. If the Harmonians try to access anything they shouldn't have, I want to know about it. As the meeting adjourned, Ensign Lopez approached Chen. Captain, she said hesitantly, I have an idea. What if we try to communicate with the Harmonians using their own method? Chen raised an eyebrow. Go on. Well, their language is based on complex harmonies, right? What if we compose our own message, embedding our own subharmonic frequencies? It might help us understand their method better, and maybe even convey our concerns without openly accusing them. A slow smile spread across Chen's face. Ensign, that's brilliant. Work with Lieutenant Harper to make it happen. Over the next few hours, the crew of the Horizon worked feverishly. Harper and Lopez, with input from Dr. Tanaka, composed a musical message that mimicked the structure of Harmonian communication. They embedded a simple subharmonic pattern that, when decoded, would ask about the nature of the hidden frequencies in the Harmonians' own messages. As they prepared to transmit, Chen felt a mixture of anticipation and dread. This could either bridge the gap of understanding between their species or widen it irreparably. Message away, Harper announced. The response came almost immediately. A burst of alien melody filled the bridge. As Harper's translation software processed it, the crew waited with bated breath. The synthesized voice crackled to life. Earth vessel, your harmony is discordant. You seek hidden notes. This is not our way. Chen frowned. What do they mean? Not their way. Lieutenant, request clarification. Another exchange of musical messages followed. The Harmonian's response was puzzling. Harmony is truth. Discord is deception. Your attempt at our language implies distrust. Realization dawned on Chen. In their attempt to understand the Harmonians, they had inadvertently accused them of dishonesty in their own language. "Captain," Dr. Tanaka interjected, "I think I understand. In their culture, the act of hiding messages within messages might be seen as deeply unethical. By attempting to do so ourselves, we've essentially told them we think they're lying to us." Chen closed her eyes, feeling the weight of the diplomatic crisis looming. "So in trying to clear up a misunderstanding, we've created an even bigger one." The next transmission from the symphony was noticeably cooler in tone. "We are disappointed. We extended trust. You respond with suspicion. Perhaps our peoples are not ready for exchange." Chen leaned forward, speaking urgently. "Melody of Starlight, please. There's been a misunderstanding. We meant no offense. We were simply trying to understand your mode of communication better." There was a long pause before the Harmonians responded. "Your words and your harmonies do not align. This is troubling." As Chen struggled to find a way to salvage the situation, alarms blared across the bridge. Lieutenant Patel's voice was tense as he reported, "Captain, the symphony is powering up some kind of energy weapon. They're targeting us." Chen's mind raced. How had things escalated so quickly? "Shields up," she ordered. "But do not, I repeat, do not return fire." The symphony fired, a beam of shimmering energy lancing out towards the horizon. The human ship shuddered as the blast impacted their shields. "Shields at 80%, Captain," Patel reported. That was just a warning shot. They could have done much more damage if they wanted to." Chen nodded grimly. The Harmonians were demonstrating their technological superiority while still leaving room for diplomacy. It was a deft move, one that put the horizon at a distinct disadvantage. "Open a channel," Chen commanded. When Harper nodded, she spoke clearly and calmly. "Melody of Starlight, crew of the symphony. We apologize for our mistake. We are a young species, still learning the ways of the galaxy. We meant no deception or insult. Please let us start again. We came here in peace, seeking understanding. That hasn't changed." The tense moments that followed seemed to stretch into eternity. Finally, a response came. "Your words are sincere," Melody of Starlight's voice said. "But trust is damaged. Actions have consequences." Chen leaned forward, pouring every ounce of sincerity she could into her words. "We understand. We're willing to face those consequences, to learn from our mistakes. Please, tell us how we can make this right." Another pause, this one even longer. Chen could feel the fate of this first contact, perhaps even a future human-Harmonian relations, hanging in the balance. At last, Melody of Starlight spoke again. "We will consider. You will remain here. No communications with your home. We will contemplate your fate." With that, the channel closed. On the view screen, the symphony gracefully maneuvered away from the horizon, taking up a position that effectively blocked their path out of the system. Chen slumped back in her chair, the weight of the situation pressing down on her. Their well-intentioned attempt to understand had brought them to the brink of interstellar conflict. Now, they were essentially prisoners, their fate in the hands of an alien species they had inadvertently offended. As she looked around at her crew, seeing the mix of fear and determination on their faces, Chen knew that the real test was just beginning. Somehow, they needed to find a way to bridge this gap, to turn this misunderstanding into an opportunity for genuine understanding. "All right," she said, straightening in her chair. "We've made a mistake, but we're not out of options. Let's get to work. We need to find a way to communicate with the Harmonians that doesn't rely on their musical language. We need to show them who we really are, not who they think we are based on this misunderstanding." As her crew sprang into action, Chen stared out at the distant form of the symphony. Somewhere on that ship, the Harmonians were deciding the fate of this first contact and perhaps the future of human-alien relations. Whatever happened next, Chen was determined to find a way to turn this crisis into an opportunity for true understanding. The diplomatic crisis had begun, but with it came the chance to demonstrate the best of humanity, their creativity, their resilience, and their unwavering determination to forge connections across the stars. Diplomatic crisis. The hours crawled by on the horizon, each moment heavy with tension. Captain Chen paced the bridge, her mind racing as she considered their options. The symphony hung in space before them, a silent, iridescent sentinel guarding their fate. Any change in the Harmonian's status, Mr. Petal? Chen asked, her voice tight with stress. Pytel shook his head. No, Captain, they're maintaining their position. No additional weapons powered up, but their shields are still at full strength. Chen nodded, then turned to communications. Lieutenant Harper, any luck with alternative communication methods? Harper looked up from his console, dark circles under his eyes evidence of his tireless work. We've been analyzing every form of non-verbal communication we can think of, Captain. Light patterns, gravitational waves, even neutrino emissions. But without knowing how the Harmonians might interpret these, we risk another misunderstanding. Chen suppressed a sigh. They were running out of options, and more importantly, time. Who knew how long the Harmonians' patience would last? Suddenly, Ensign Lopez spoke up from her station. Captain, I have an idea. It's unconventional, but it might work. All eyes on the bridge turned to the young officer. Chen nodded encouragingly. Go on, Ensign. At this point, we're open to anything. Lopez took a deep breath. Well, we know the Harmonians communicate through music, right? But it's not just the audible frequencies, it's the entire spectrum of vibrations. What if we try to communicate through dance? A moment of stunned silence followed, broken by a short laugh from Commander Ortiz. Dance. Ensign, this isn't a talent show, it's a diplomatic crisis. But Chen held up a hand, her eyes narrowing in thought. No, wait, she might be onto something. The Harmonians perceive the world through vibrations and harmonies. A choreographed movement sequence could be a form of visual music. Dr. Tanaka nodded enthusiastically. Yes, and we could incorporate multiple crew members to create complex patterns. It would demonstrate cooperation, creativity, and our willingness to adapt to their mode of communication. Chen felt a spark of hope ignite in her chest. All right, let's do it. Ensign Lopez, you'll choreograph. Dr. Tanaka, work with her to ensure the movements convey the message we want to send. Lieutenant Harper, prepare to transmit a wideband visual feed to the symphony. As the crew sprang into action, Chen couldn't help but marvel at the situation. Here they were, on the brink of interstellar conflict, and their best hope was an improvised dance routine. It was absurd, but then again, wasn't that humanity in a nutshell? Adapting, improvising, finding unconventional solutions to impossible problems. Hours passed as Lopez worked with a team of volunteers to create a sequence of movements that would convey their message of peace, regret for the misunderstanding, and hope for continued dialogue. Dr. Tanaka provided input on how to incorporate symbolic elements that might resonate with the Harmonians' perception of the universe. Finally, they were ready. Chen stood before the main view screen, her heart pounding. Open a channel to the symphony, she ordered. When Harper nodded, indicating the channel was open, Chen spoke. Melody of Starlight, crew of the symphony. We have prepared a message for you, one that we hope will transcend the limitations of our verbal language. Please observe and listen with open hearts. She nodded to Lopez, who cued the music. A gentle, harmonious composition that complemented the movements without overpowering them. Then, the dance began. Led by Lopez, the group of human dancers moved in intricate patterns across the bridge. Their movements flowed from sharp, staccato gestures representing the initial misunderstanding to fluid, synchronized motions symbolizing harmony and cooperation. At key moments, dancers would break from the group, then be drawn back in, representing the push and pull of different cultures coming together. As the performance reached its climax, the dancers formed a living spiral, with Chen at the center. She raised her arms slowly, her movements deliberate and graceful, extending her hands toward the view screen in a universal gesture of peace and openness. The dance ended, and silence fell over the bridge. Chen held her position, arms outstretched, barely daring to breathe as they waited for a response. Long moments passed. Then, finally, a transmission came through from the symphony, but it wasn't the usual musical tones. Instead, a shimmering, holographic image appeared on the bridge, a group of harmonians, their bodies undulating in a hypnotic, synchronized pattern. Harper's eyes widened. "Captain, I think they're dancing back." Chen watched in awe as the harmonians' movements echoed elements of the human dance, then expanded upon them, adding layers of complexity and meaning that she could sense but not fully comprehend. It was beautiful, alien, and deeply moving. As the harmonian dance concluded, Melody of Starlight's voice came through, softer and more melodious than before. "You speak the language of the cosmos. Movement, harmony, life. We have misunderstood each other, but now we begin to see." Chen felt tears pricking at the corners of her eyes. "We too are beginning to understand, Melody of Starlight. We have much to learn from each other." "Yes," the harmonian leader agreed. "The dance of diplomacy is complex, but worthy of the effort." Over the next several hours, the humans and harmonians engaged in an unprecedented form of diplomatic exchange. They took turns performing for each other, using movement, music, and visual displays to convey complex ideas and emotions. Slowly, a deeper understanding began to emerge. The harmonians explained, through their art, that the subliminal frequencies in their speech were not intended for deception, but rather to convey emotional context, something so integral to their communication that they hadn't considered humans might not perceive it. In turn, the humans demonstrated their diversity of expression, showcasing different dance styles, music genres, and visual arts. They conveyed their history of conflicts and resolutions, their aspirations for peaceful coexistence among the stars. As the exchange continued, the tension between the two ships gradually dissipated. The symphony powered down its weapons, and the horizon lowered its shields. A new era of cooperation seemed to be dawning. But just as hope was rising, alarms blared across both ships. Lieutenant Purtell's voice was urgent as he reported, "Captain, long-range sensors are detecting a massive energy surge. Something's coming out of faster-than-light travel, and it's big." On the view screen, a swirling vortex of energy appeared, growing larger by the second. From its depths emerged a ship of staggering proportions, its design a nightmarish blend of organic and mechanical elements. Melody of Starlight's voice came through, tinged with fear. "The discordants, ancient enemy, destroyers of harmony, they have found us." Chen stared at the menacing new arrival, her mind racing. The diplomatic crisis with the harmonians suddenly seemed trivial in comparison to this new threat. As klaxons sounded and her crew rushed to battle stations, Chen realized that humanity's first steps into the galactic community were about to face their greatest test yet. The Horizon and the Symphony, so recently at odds, now found themselves unlikely allies in the face of a common enemy. As the massive discordant ship loomed before them, Chen knew that the fate of both their species might hinge on how well they could work together. "All hands," she called out, her voice steady despite the fear churning in her gut. "Prepare for possible engagement, and open a channel to the Symphony. If we're going to face this threat, we'll do it together." As the crew of the Horizon braced for what was to come, Chen couldn't help but think that this, perhaps, was the true purpose of their mission. Not just to make first contact, but to forge alliances, to stand together against the darkness of the universe. Whatever happened next, humanity would face it not alone, but in harmony with their new allies. Human ingenuity, The massive discordant ship loomed before the horizon and the symphony, its very presence seeming to distort the fabric of space around it. Captain Chen's mind raced as she assessed their dire situation. The horizon, designed for exploration rather than combat, was woefully outmatched. Even the more advanced symphony seemed small and fragile in comparison to the behemoth before them. "Status report," Chen barked, forcing calm into her voice. Lieutenant Peto's fingers flew over his console. "The discordant ship is powering up weapons, Captain. Energy readings are off the charts. Our shields won't withstand a direct hit." Chen nodded grimly. "Open a channel to the symphony." Melody of Starlight's voice came through, tinged with a harmonic that Chen now recognized as fear. "Captain Chen, the discordants are ancient enemy. They seek to destroy all harmony in the universe. Our weapons, ineffective against their shields." Chen's mind whirled. They were outgunned and outmatched, but humanity hadn't come this far by giving up when the odds were against them. "Melody of Starlight, we need to work together. Tell me everything you know about the discordance technology." As the Harmonian leader shared what they knew, Dr. Tanaka and Lieutenant Harper huddled over a console, analyzing the data. The discordance ship used a form of quantum entanglement for both their shields and weapons, making them nearly impervious to conventional attacks. "Wait a minute," Harper said suddenly, his eyes lighting up. "Their quantum systems are incredibly complex. What if we could introduce a disruption?" Dr. Tanaka caught on quickly. "A quantum uncertainty principle exploit? It's theoretically possible, but we'd need to generate an enormous amount of quantum noise." Chen leaned in. "Explain it to me simply, doctors. Can we do it?" Tanaka nodded slowly. "Maybe. If we could synchronize the horizons and symphony sensor arrays to emit a precisely calibrated quantum field, we might be able to temporarily disrupt their shields." "But," Harper added, "we'd need to get close. Dangerously close." Chen straightened, decision made. "Do it. I'll coordinate with the symphony." She turned to navigation. "Ensign Lopez, plot us a course that will bring us in tight to the discordant ship. We'll need to dance around their weapons fire." Lopez swallowed hard, but nodded determinedly. "Aye, Captain. I'll give them a dance they won't forget." As Tanaka and Harper worked feverishly to reconfigure their systems, Chen explained the plan to Melody of Starlight. The Harmonian was hesitant at first, the idea of such close combat foreign to their peaceful nature. But as Chen outlined the strategy, emphasizing how it played to both species' strengths, Melody of Starlight began to come around. "Your plan is bold," the Harmonian leader said. "We will follow your lead." The next few minutes were a flurry of activity. Engineering teams on both ships worked to synchronize their systems, creating a linked quantum field generator that they hoped would disrupt the discordant's shields. Just as they finished preparations, the discordant ship fired its first salvo. A beam of sickly green energy lanced out, narrowly missing the symphony. "Evasive maneuvers," Chen ordered. "Take us in, Ensign Lopez. Harper, Tanaka, stand by with the quantum disruptor." What followed was a harrowing dance through space. Lopez guided the horizon with preternatural skill, weaving through the barrage of discordant weapons fire. The symphony moved in perfect synchronization, the two ships circling their massive enemy like agile birds harassing a lumbering predator. "We're almost in range," Tanaka called out. "But we need to get closer." Chen gripped her chair, watching as another energy beam sizzled past, close enough to make the shields flare. "Steady as she goes, Ensign. Harper, Tanaka, prepare to fire on my mark." The horizon shuddered as a glancing blow struck their shields. "Shields at 30%, Captain," Patel warned. "Now," Chen commanded. Harper and Tanaka activated the quantum disruptor. A wave of scintillating energy burst forth from both the horizon and the symphony, enveloping the discordant ship in a dazzling display of quantum interference. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, with a visual ripple that hurt the eyes to look at, the Discordant's shields flickered and failed. "Their shields are down," Paytel shouted triumphantly. But Chen knew they weren't out of danger yet. "Symphony, target their weapon systems. Fire everything you've got." The Harmonian ship responded immediately, unleashing a barrage of energy weapons that struck the now vulnerable Discordant vessel. Explosions blossomed across its hull as critical systems were hit. The Discordant ship, however, was far from defeated. It began to turn, bringing new weapons to bear. "They're adapting," Harper warned. "The quantum disruption won't work again." Chen's mind raced. They had bloodied the enemy's nose, but they were still grossly outmatched. They needed a new strategy, and fast. Suddenly, an idea struck her. "The Harmony Gathering," she said, turning to Harper. "The way the Harmonians shared emotions and concepts through music. Could we weaponize that?" Harper's eyes widened as he caught on. "You mean, broadcast a disruptive signal on their own frequency? It's possible, but we'd need the Harmonians' help to compose it." Chen nodded. "Open a channel to Melody of Starlight, quickly." As Chen outlined her desperate plan, she could sense the Harmonian leader's initial reluctance. The idea of using their sacred art as a weapon was clearly disturbing. But as the Discordant ship loomed ever closer, Melody of Starlight made a decision. "We will do it," came the response. "To preserve harmony, sometimes discord must be employed." What followed was perhaps the strangest battle in the history of space warfare. As the Horizon and Symphony danced around the Discordant ship's attacks, their combined crews worked to compose a symphony of disruption. They wove together Harmonian melodies with human rhythms, creating a piece of music that was both beautiful and terrifying. When it was ready, they'd broadcast it on all frequencies, filling space with a wall of sound. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then, the Discordant ship began to shudder. Its movements became erratic, its weapons fire going wild. "It's working," Paytel exclaimed. "Their systems are going haywire." Chen allowed herself a small smile. Human ingenuity and Harmonian artistry, working in concert, had accomplished what neither could have done alone. But she knew the battle wasn't over yet. The Discordants were wounded, but still dangerous. "All hands," she commanded, "prepare for a final assault. Let's end this." As the Horizon and Symphony moved in for the killing blow, Chen couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. In the face of an overwhelming threat, two vastly different species had come together, combining their strengths to overcome impossible odds. The final barrage of weapons fire from both ships struck the Discordant vessel's critical systems. With a series of massive explosions, the enemy ship began to break apart. As the threat dissipated, cheers erupted on the Horizon's bridge. Chen allowed her crew a moment of celebration before turning her attention back to the viewscreen, where the Symphony hung in space, battered but unbroken. "Open a channel to Melody of Starlight," she said softly. As the Harmonian leader's face appeared, Chen felt a profound sense of connection. "Thank you," she said simply, "for trusting us, for working with us. We couldn't have done this without you." Melody of Starlight's skin rippled with colors that Chen now recognized as deep emotion. "Nor we without you, Captain Chen. Perhaps this is the true harmony of the universe. Different notes, coming together to create something greater." As the adrenaline of battle faded, Chen realized that they had done more than just defeat an enemy. They had forged a bond between their species, one built on mutual respect, trust, and the shared experience of facing adversity together. The Horizon and the Symphony had entered this star system as strangers, even brief adversaries. They would leave it as allies, and perhaps even friends. As Chen looked out at the star-filled expanse before them, she felt a renewed sense of hope for humanity's future among the stars. Unexpected alliance. In the wake of the battle, the Horizon and the Symphony drifted side by side, both ships bearing the scars of their encounter with the Discordants. On the Horizon's bridge, Captain Chen surveyed her crew with a mixture of pride and concern. They had achieved the impossible, but at a cost. "Damage report," she called out, her voice hoarse from shouting orders during the battle. Lieutenant Patel's fingers danced across his console. "Shields are down to 15%, weapon systems are offline, and we've got hull breaches on decks 3 and 4. Emergency force fields are holding, but we're in no shape for another fight." Chen nodded grimly. "What about casualties?" Dr. Tanaka stepped forward, her usually immaculate lab coat smudged with soot. 12 injured, 3 critically. We're doing what we can in sickbay, but our medical supplies are running low." Before Chen could respond, Harper spoke up from his communications station. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the Symphony." On screen, Chen ordered, straightening her uniform. Melody of Starlight's image appeared, the Harmonian leader's usually iridescent skin now a muted, troubled blue. "Captain Chen, we are grateful for your aid, but we fear the danger is not past." Chen leaned forward, her exhaustion momentarily forgotten. "What do you mean?" "The discordance. Rarely travel alone. Where one has found us, others may follow. We must prepare." A chill ran down Chen's spine. The thought of facing another discordant ship in their current state was terrifying. "What do you suggest?" Melody of Starlight's colors shifted, displaying a pattern that Chen was beginning to recognize as determination. "We propose a joining of our ships, a merging of our technologies and cultures. It is unprecedented, but these are unprecedented times." Chen's eyes widened. The implications of such a merger were staggering. "You mean physically joining our ships?" "Yes," Melody of Starlight confirmed. "Our symphony is adaptable. We can envelop your horizon, combine our strengths, become something new." The bridge fell silent as the crew processed this extraordinary proposal. Chen's mind raced, weighing the potential benefits against the risks. It would mean exposing the heart of human technology to an alien species they barely knew. But it could also be the key to their survival and to a deeper understanding between their peoples. "We'll need time to discuss this," Chen said carefully. "It's not a decision I can make unilaterally." Melody of Starlight's colors pulsed in understanding. "Of course, we will stand by." As the transmission ended, Chen turned to her senior staff. "Thoughts?" Dr. Tanaka spoke first, her eyes shining with scientific curiosity. "The potential for technological advancement is enormous, Captain. We could learn more in a few days of close cooperation than we would in years of conventional study." Commander Ortiz, ever the voice of caution, countered, "It's also a massive security risk. We'd be giving them access to everything. Our systems, our databases, potentially even Earth's location." "But they'd be doing the same," Ensign Lopez pointed out. "It's mutual vulnerability. Isn't that the foundation of trust?" Chen nodded, considering their points. "What about the crew? How would they handle such close quarters with an alien species?" Harper cleared his throat. "If I may, Captain, during the battle, I saw our people working seamlessly with the Harmonians. There was a connection there, a sense of shared purpose. I think we're ready for this." Chen looked around at her staff, seeing the mixture of excitement, apprehension, and determination on their faces. It mirrored her own feelings. This was why they had come out into the stars, not just to observe, but to engage, to learn, to grow. "All right," she said, coming to a decision. "Let's do it. But we do this carefully, step by step. I want safeguards in place and clear protocols established for every aspect of this merger." The next few hours were a whirlwind of activity. Engineers from both ships worked together to design the integration process. It was decided that the Symphony, with its more adaptable organic technology, would extend itself around the horizon, creating a protective cocoon that would also allow for the melding of their systems. As the process began, Chen stood at the viewport, watching in awe as the Symphony's iridescent hull flowed and stretched, gradually enveloping the horizon. It was beautiful and terrifying, a physical representation of the leap of faith they were taking. Inside the ship, the changes were even more profound. Harmonian organic technology began to interface with human systems, creating hybrid consoles that responded to both touch and musical commands. The very walls seemed to come alive, pulsing with energy and information. Crew members from both ships mingled, working side by side to integrate their operations. There were moments of confusion and frustration, but also breakthroughs and laughter as they found creative ways to bridge their differences. In sickbay, Dr. Tanaka worked alongside Harmonian healers, marveling at their ability to use symphonic resonances to accelerate healing. Human engineers watched in fascination as their Harmonian counterparts literally sang new circuits into existence. As the merger neared completion, Chen called a meeting of the combined crew in the newly formed central chamber, a vast organic space that somehow managed to feel both alien and familiar. "We've taken an unprecedented step today," she addressed the assembled humans and Harmonians. "In doing so, we've not just combined our technologies, but our hopes, our dreams, and our futures. We face great challenges ahead, but we face them together." Melody of Starlight moved to stand beside her, their colors shifting in a way that Chen now recognized as deep emotion. Two melodies have become one symphony, the Harmonian leader intoned. "Together, we are stronger. Together, we will face the discord that threatens the galaxy." As if in response to their words, a new alarm sounded, but it wasn't the harsh klaxon of human systems or the musical tones of Harmonian alerts. Instead, it was a harmonic blend of both, a perfect representation of their new unity. Multiple contacts detected, Pytel and his Harmonian counterpart announced in unison. Discordant ships approaching. Chen and Melody of Starlight shared a look of determination. Battle stations, they commanded as one. As the newly combined crew rushed to their positions, there was no fear, only a sense of readiness. They had faced the impossible once and triumphed. United, they were prepared to do so again. The hybrid ship, no longer just the Horizon or the Symphony, but something new and yet unnamed, moved to face the oncoming threat. In that moment, Chen realized that they had stumbled upon something far greater than a temporary alliance. They had forged a new path forward, one that held the promise of a truly united galaxy. As the discordant fleet approached, Chen allowed herself a small smile. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them not as humans or Harmonians, but as a single harmonious force. The true adventure, she realized, was only just beginning. Triumph of understanding. The newly merged ship hung in space, a testament to the unprecedented cooperation between humans and Harmonians. Its hull shimmered with a blend of metal and organic material, pulsing with energy that defied easy classification. On the bridge, now a harmonious blend of human and Harmonian design, Captain Chen and Melody of Starlight stood side by side, their eyes fixed on the approaching discordant fleet. 5 ships detected, Lieutenant Patel announced, his voice overlapping with the musical tones of his Harmonian counterpart. "They're moving into attack formation." Chen nodded, her mind racing through tactical options. "Status of our weapons." Dr. Tanaka, who had been working with the Harmonian engineers, spoke up. "We've successfully integrated our phaser arrays with the Harmonian's quantum resonance cannons. The result is, well, we're not entirely sure what to call it." Harmonic disruptor, Melody of Starlight suggested, their colors rippling with what Chen now recognized as excitement. "A weapon that sings destruction to our enemies." Despite the gravity of the situation, Chen couldn't help but smile at the poetic description. "Harmonic disruptor it is. Prepare to fire on my command." As the discordant ships drew closer, their ominous forms blotting out the stars, Chen felt a moment of doubt. Even with their combined strength, they were still outnumbered. But as she looked around at the unified crew, humans and Harmonians working in perfect sync, she felt her resolve strengthen. "Open a channel," she ordered. "Let's try one last time for peace." Harper nodded, and Chen took a deep breath. Discordant fleet, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the Harmony. She paused, realizing in that moment that their merged ship needed a name. We do not seek conflict. We offer you the chance to withdraw and open diplomatic channels. For a long moment, there was no response. Then, a harsh grating sound filled the bridge, the discordant equivalent of laughter. A voice followed, so discordant that it made several crew members wince. "Weaklings," the voice sneered. "Your offer is rejected. Prepare to be eradicated." Chen's jaw set. So be it. All hands, battle stations. What followed was a battle unlike any in the history of either species. The Harmony moved with impossible grace, its hybrid systems allowing for maneuvers that defied conventional physics. The harmonic disruptors lived up to their name, sending out pulses of energy that literally sang destruction to the discordant ships. But the discordants were formidable opponents. Their weapons tore through space, their discordant energies threatening to rip apart the fabric of reality itself. The Harmony shuddered under their assault, its shields flickering. "Shields at 60% and falling," Pato reported, his voice tense. Chen gripped her chair, her mind racing. They were holding their own, but they needed something more, something unexpected. Suddenly, Ensign Lopez spoke up. "Captain, I have an idea. It's crazy, but what if we try to communicate with the discordants the way we did with each other? Through dance?" For a moment, Chen thought the stress of battle had gotten to the young ensign. But then she saw Melody of Starlight's colors shift in a pattern she now recognized as deep consideration. "The young one, maybe onto something," the Harmonian leader said. "The discordants, they are beings of pure chaos. But chaos is just harmony we don't yet understand." Chen's eyes widened as she grasped the implications. "You mean we try to find the pattern in their chaos? To harmonize with it?" "Yes," Melody of Starlight confirmed. "A grand symphony of order and chaos combined." It was an audacious plan, possibly even a foolish one. But as another blast rocked the ship, Chen realized they had little to lose. "Do it," she commanded. "All hands, prepare for whatever comes next." What followed was perhaps the strangest battle tactic in the history of space warfare. As the Harmony continued to dodge and return fire, its crew, human and Harmonian alike, began to move in a complex, seemingly chaotic dance. Their movements were reflected in the ship's maneuvers, in the pulses of its weapons fire, even in the modulation of its shields. At first, nothing seemed to change. The discordants pressed their attack, their weapons as devastating as ever. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, something began to shift. The discordants' attacks became less coordinated, their formations breaking down. They're trying to match our pattern," Harper exclaimed, his eyes wide with disbelief. Chen watched in awe as the space around them became a dizzying ballet of ships, energy weapons, and quantum fluctuations. It was chaos and order, discord and harmony, all blended into one breathtaking whole. And then suddenly, it all stopped. The discordant ships hung motionless in space, their weapons silent. A transmission came through, but it wasn't the harsh, grating voice from before. Instead, it was a complex melody, beautiful in its alienness. Melody of Starlight's colors pulsed with joy. They understand. They have found the harmony in their discord. As Chen watched, the discordant ships began to change, their harsh angles softening, that ominous darkness giving way to a softer glow. They were transforming, becoming something new, neither fully discordant nor Harmonian, but a perfect blend of both. In that moment, Chen understood. This wasn't just a victory in battle. It was a fundamental shift in the very nature of their universe. They had found a way to bridge the gap between order and chaos, to find harmony in the heart of discord. As the transformed ships approached, no longer enemies but new allies, Chen felt a profound sense of awe. They had come into this region of space seeking first contact, hoping to learn about new civilizations. Instead, they had become part of something far greater, the birth of a new understanding of the cosmos itself. "Open a channel," she said softly, and as the faces of the former discordants appeared on screen, beautiful in their alien complexity, Chen smiled. "Welcome," she said simply, "to the symphony of the universe." As human, Harmonian, and former discordant began to communicate, sharing their unique perspectives and experiences, Chen realized that their journey was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. They had unlocked a new way of looking at the universe, a path toward true universal harmony. The harmony hung in space, no longer just a ship, but a symbol of what was possible when different species came together. As Chen looked out at the stars, she felt a sense of limitless potential. Whatever challenges the universe held, they would face them together in perfect harmony. The end of this adventure was just the beginning of a grand new symphony, one that would resonate across the cosmos for ages to come.